Norwich against Chelsea, as the Blues still chase their first win of the season, and it must, absolutely must, come now, as Frank Lampard reveals yet another injury to N'Golo Kanté, while the main question remains, will Chelsea finish their chances? Hello there guys, and welcome back to Blues TV for my preview of Norwich against Chelsea, taking place tomorrow on Saturday with the early kickoff, 12:30 kickoff. So, it is an early start for all of us, especially for the, away travelling fans. So fair play to all of you, that are going. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. I'm looking forward to it. I'm very excited. I'm also a little bit nervous because if we don't win again, it's starting to be a bit of a problem. But, it as simple as that. I said in the intro, I kind of said it now. It is an absolute must-win game. There is no two questions about it. We have to win that game tomorrow. Like I say, no two questions about it. It just is like that. And if you're new to Blues TV, please do subscribe to the channel. That would be massively appreciated. Let's keep it growing. That would be, just be cool. And also make sure to smash the notification bell button so you receive notifications whenever we do upload a video, so you don't miss any of them. But now, as usual, just getting into the preview and starting it off by speaking of our opposition. And that, of course, is Norwich. And of course, they were promoted to the Premier League by winning the Championship last season ahead of Sheffield. And, I'm not going to focus on their pre-season too much, but, they played 6 games, won 3, lost 2, and drew 1, to be fair, against some decent opponents as well. But their return to the Premier League didn't actually start off that well. A 4-1 loss away at Anfield. But as I told you already ahead of the, Super Cup against Liverpool, when we played them, in my opinion, that result was a little bit harsh on Norwich, actually. I mean, Liverpool were very clinical, fair enough, and, yes, they were the slightly better team. But along with some bad defending by the Carrows, Norwich still had their own chances, plenty of them as well, to at least score 2 or 3 goals. They only scored 1 in the end, obviously lost it 4-1, but they could have at least scored 3 in my opinion. Yeah, I know, they didn't in the end, and fair enough. And even though they lost 4-1, that game, in my opinion, is not something that should make Chelsea or Chelsea fans feel overly confident, like at all. And even less so is that the case for their last game against Newcastle when they beat them 3-1, at home, obviously at Carrow Road. And like I say, they kind of battered Liverpool. Not like, if you look at the stats, it wasn't like complete domination, even though they had most of the ball. But Newcastle had their chances, fair enough, especially one early on when it was still 0-0. But after that, TEEMU Pukki turned up, and Jesus Christ, he actually could have scored 2 before he actually got his first goal. And then he still got a hat-trick in the end. Like, what a striker that is. I tell you one thing, he is some striker. I mean, he could have done a bit better against Liverpool, I will say that here and there, but he still got a goal. And he's now on 4 goals after just 2 games. In his first ever 2 Premier League games, and that for a promoted side. Like, fair bloody play, mate. And I remember when he joined Schalke back in 2011, and the guy looked really good. I mean, yeah, his career didn't perfectly go to plan there and wherever he went after, to Celtic and Brøndby, but when Norwich snapped him up last summer, I mean, he absolutely exploded for them. 29 goals, I think it was. Yeah, 29 goals, I think it was, in 23 games, and 43 games, of course. The guy just knows how to score. I mean, he's not the tallest guy, 5'11" or so. He's not the very fastest either, but he's just a good mix of a lot of things. And his finishing, I mean, I wish we had someone in our team that would finish like he did against Newcastle. Some of those goals, especially their first one, what a finish that was. But he's not their only good player, by any means. Also, their young left winger, Todd Cantwell, I think that's how you pronounce it, looks good. I mean, 2 assists last week, obviously both for Pukki. And generally, he just looks like a really smart player in that 4-2-3-1 that Norwich, go with more often than not. And yes, I said left winger. God save Aspie. Please help him. Please someone help him. Please just don't have a good game, really. But I don't want to paint them as too good of a team. They're still a promoted side that let both of their opponents, whether that was Liverpool or Newcastle, have quite a few chances in their games against them. But they do know how to play football. It's as simple as that. They did play decent football in the Champions League last season, and fair play to them. They stuck with that. Got what so far looks like a good mix between attacking and defending. No crazy pressing, not sitting too deep, and a couple of top attackers that can hurt anybody. And they will also be very confident, especially in front of the home crowd, where, by the way, they haven't lost since Derby, Derby County under Frank Lampard last beat them, in last December. So definitely won't be an easy game by any means, like at all. But to be honest, that was really it about Norwich. And now let's get into Mr. Frank Lampard's pre-match press conference. Not gonna lie, that started off really badly at the press conference, because the first thing that Lampard said is that N'Golo Kanté is dealing with yet another injury, this time an ankle sprain, and he will still be assessed ahead of the game. So there is a chance of him playing and being in the squad, but he is most certainly a doubt. While also Antonio Rudiger, who, like Michy Batshuayi, which I will come on to, played for the under-20, threes, against Liverpool when we beat them 3-0. He played 90 minutes in that, but Lampard said, he's not fit yet for this game tomorrow, but he hopes he'll be ready for the game next week. Everything else, to be honest, that Lampard said today was kind of just standard manager press conference talk. Nothing special, nothing new. to, except saying that he's happy with Batshuayi in, you know, that said under 23s game that he played, scored 2 goals in that. And Mishi is also, I just, you know, received that notification, you know, when I started recording. Mishi is part of the travelling squad to Norwich. But to be honest, that doesn't necessarily mean that he'll even be on the bench. Like, remember when Callum Hudson-Odoi travelled to, I think it was Bournemouth last season, and then he was just sat on the stand in the end. So it doesn't necessarily mean anything, but it could mean that he's on the bench, could mean that he starts that one. But we'll have to wait and see. But like I say, you know, nothing else was really said in the press conference. So now let's talk about Chelsea. And firstly, I just bloody hope that now that we had the full week off, we don't run out of steam after 20 minutes into the game again, because that will be, you know, that will be a big problem. And, you know, especially that we won't be absolutely dead after 70 minutes or so. I mean, if that happens again, things will start, you know, things will have to be questioned. But like I say, we didn't have a midweek game, so it should, I say should, be fine. And yeah, sure, we can pick out loads of, you know, negatives from the Leicester game. But in the end, we were good at times. We were really good early on, very good. But yes, we ran out of steam, and that was obviously a problem. And you know, even though when we weren't dominating anymore as the first half went on, until they got their goal, you know, even that in the second half, Leicester didn't really have that many big chances. So, you know, it's just a matter of, even if we start off incredibly well, as long as we take our chances in that and just relax, just, you know, keep our cool and stay focused, then we're generally fine. But we just absolutely lost our plot towards the end of that game, and obviously everyone was clearly absolutely shattered. And another thing that we have to avoid is how we couldn't keep the ball anymore as that game went on. I mean, with how we set up, if we lose the ball in transition, we're in trouble. It's as simple as that. But the general idea of how we did and tried to play against Leicester is good in my opinion. The problem is just our finishing. I mean, the game last week could have been dead and buried by the time we ran out of steam. You know, it could have been 2 or 3-0 at least by half time. So, you know, that is obviously a bit of an issue, and let's hope we can improve on that. Now, what I'm going to say now, all of what I'm going to say now, is if N'Golo Kanté is fit to play, because, you know, if not, our tactical intricacies are a lot less interesting anyway, because then we're just nowhere near as good of a team. So, you know, keep that in mind. All of what I'm going to say is if Kanté can play tomorrow. At the end, I will say what we do if, you know, he doesn't play. So we are still in a bit of a predicament, because in more of a flat 4-3-3, can't speak apparently today, Kovacic instead of Mount, in the end, kind of helps us be defensively. We saw that against Liverpool. Simply because he has more support, because Kante is closer to him, and the winger protects him, you know, more on that side. But the way we played last week, the wingers, for the most part, were quite narrow. They made their crossing runs in a sense. And, you know, he was kept quite exposed. You know, Kante was pressing a lot. So Aspie actually had that whole half, you know, that whole side of the pitch to defend on his own. And especially as the rest of the team got tired, you know, to struggle to run back to help him out as he got tired as well. He got absolutely done by. Absolutely done by. We all know that. But it is a problem. You know, Zappacosta just left for Rome. And what do? So we kind of have to help him a little bit, I think. But, you know, what I will say is that we should do, in my opinion, start with the same system that we did against Leicester, and only if serious problems do show up, or once our midfield gets a little bit tired, either bring on Kovacic on for Mason Mount, or bring him on for a winger and then move Mount out to the wing, to just have that more flat 4-3-3 to support Aspie a little bit. Because at the start, it was clearly not a problem. You know, yes, they try to attack that side, and I'm sure Norwich will try to attack that side as well. But, you know, if we press as well as we did, we're completely fine. Just as once we get tired, maybe make that sort of change. I hope, you know, Frank Lampard does that. That would be good. And, you know, ideally, by the time we get tired and by the time that becomes a problem, we're in the lead anyway, maybe even by more than 1 goal. That would obviously be good. So my lineup for tomorrow is this. In a 4-3-3, again, if Kante plays. Kepa, of course, in goal. Then the 2 centre-backs of Christensen and Zuma. Like I say, I don't think tomorrow will start, and Rudiger, according to Lampard, isn't just fit yet to play. Then the 2 fullbacks, of course, Aspie has to play. Zappacosta just left on loan for Roma, like I say. And of course, Emerson Palmieri has to be in the left. Has been one of our best players so far this season, doing really well. A midfield 3 of Jorginho, you know, as the deepest of the 3, of course. N'Golo Kanté is right. And then again, I would go with Mason Mount to his left. Just a bit more attacking than Kante. And, you know, some people might still want to call it a 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1 then, sorry. To me, it's a 4-3-3, whatever you want to debate about. It doesn't really matter that much. I came to the conclusion that you could almost argue we played both. Once we were very defensive, 4-2-3-1. Once we moved forward more, it was a 4-3-3. So whichever way you want to talk about it, but to be honest, I mean, you can't drop him. You're like, it would be really harsh on Mason Mount if you know Lampard started Ross Barkley now. That just wouldn't make much sense to me. Then coming to the 2 wingers, I mean, I would go with Pulisic again, even though he didn't have the greatest game. He's only 20. He needs to find his feet in a new league. You know, that can only happen quicker if he gets more game time. And then on the other side, I don't know, try Willian. I know it was absolutely shocking and kind of like embarrassingly bad when he came on against Leicester, but you know, he was his first game back after a while, and you know, he had a full extra weeks of training. But, Lampard kind of picks his players not even just on game performances, but also on how they trained in the week. So I'd assume whichever one of those three just trains the best, those will play. So if Willian didn't train well, he won't play. If Pedro didn't train well, he won't play. If Pulisic didn't train well, it might not be him that plays. It might be Willian and Pedro. We'll have to wait and see. If it is Pulisic and Willian, I would actually try Willian on the left and give Pulisic a run out on the right, because that could also help Aspie a little bit more, just because Pulisic likes to, hug the touchline a little bit more, and that, just gives Aspie a little bit of support and should help us with our balance defensively a little bit. But then up front is arguably the biggest debate to be had, because, we also, I assume we all saw that clip from the open training session, and Eunice even made a whole video about it, and that shooting drill. Bloody hell are we poor at finishing, especially at the end of a nice passing move. Like, awful, absolutely horrendous. I mean, the first time finishes on the end of crosses were better, especially Olivier Giroud's were really good. But unless I'm blind, I actually don't think Tammy Abraham was part of that drill. So it's difficult to choose the striker because Giroud was good at that, because I don't know whether Tammy would have been or was good at it or would have been. People cry about, Michy Batshuayi, that he should play because he has the best goals per minute ratio and, hasn't even gotten a chance yet. But apparently also his finishing was one of the worst in that training session. I saw someone tweet that was there that Tammy's was not great, but decent enough. Giroud was really good, but Batshuayi didn't even want to talk about, basically. So if that kind of thing happens in training, then we don't have to wonder why he doesn't play. I just don't see, Lampard going with him, even if he scored that brace for the under-23s and Lampard was happy with his performance there. And personally, I would also stop to chop and change the striker. Pick one and stick with that one. I mean, and if you do that, in my opinion, it has to be the young one. It has to be the young striker. I just don't see the point of repeating this for the 5th time. I feel like I just don't see the point of starting Olivier Giroud. I mean, this is a transitional season. It's not like whether we start Giroud or not. We might make a difference between coming 5th, 6th, or 7th. Yeah, sure. But in the grand scheme of things, that's not a big difference in anything, really. So you have to go with the young one. We have to figure out the season whether Tammy long term is good enough, and you can't judge that on starting one game where he actually hit the post and did all right, and then coming on in 2 other games and missing a penalty in a Super Cup. Like, you can't judge him on that. He needs to get a little bit more time, and especially in the Premier League games, I would try to stick with the same strike. And Olivier Giroud is a really good option off the bench as well, so he can be very helpful from there. So like I say, I would personally pick Tammy Abraham or Batshuayi, I guess, because I would like to give him a chance, just to at least all of them get a chance before Lampard, decides to which one to stick with long term. But like I say, I just don't see Batshuayi starting at all. Now, if KANTE can't play, if N'Golo Kante can't play, what else can we, like, everything is kind of out the window, because he's arguably our most important, if not at least one of our most important players. If he can't play, it's just a 4-2-3-1 with Kovacic next to Jorginho in the double pivot and Mason Mount ahead of them in the number 10. Everything else stays the same, really. We won't be anywhere near as good. We might still get the win, hopefully, if that is the case. But I really hope that he is there, because we need that 4-3-3. And I just don't think the way we tried to play that 4-3-3 works without N'Golo Kante in there. We don't have anyone like him. Even, Kovacic is the closest to him, I think, in what we have in our team. But I think that would just be a little bit crazily too offensive if we had Jorginho, Kovacic and Mason Mount in a midfield 3. That would be a little bit crazy. But I bloody hope that he is there, because, like I said earlier, it is a must-win game. We simply have to win this one. And I am confident that we will create chances. The question is if we take them. If we take them, we'll be absolutely fine. But will we take them? I mean, I am going to say that we'll take some, but only just enough to win. So I will predict a 2-1 win. We need that win, like I say. So I'm going to predict a 2-1 win. Maybe 3-1, depending on how things go. But, that is my prediction. And to be honest, I'm actually going to leave it here. Leave a like on this video if you did enjoy it. I would massively appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe to Blues TV. And also, click the notification bell button so you, keep up to date whenever we upload a video. And of course, leave me all of your thoughts on everything that I mentioned down in the comment section below. Leave me your match predictions, your lineup predictions as well. I obviously gave you the lineup that I think will start. Personally, actually, that I would start rather than I think start, because I actually believe it's going to be Olivier Giroud, up front. But we'll have to wait and see about that. Like I say, leave me all of your thoughts down in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. Up the Chelsea, and I'll see you when I see you.